Hey everybody!
Welcome to the He Said Yes YouTube channel.
And we are here. You can see our new artwork. We are here in Amsterdam. I don't know if the artwork will stay.
The artwork won't stay.
We're in a furnished apartment. But we wanted to get a video up.
As soon as possible. We've been here
Since Friday, and today is
Wednesday.
Tuesday. Today's Wednesday.
Hopefully.
It's been a whirlwind since we got here. We wanted to do a video before we left, but we were quite busy, which is what we're going to talk about today. We want to go over the top 5 things that we had to do before we left New York City and made this big international move.
Yeah, there was a lot to happen, and keeping it all organized was rough. But let's go ahead and start with number 1.
Yeah, so one of the big things we wanted to do is to say goodbye to our friends and see people. So we tried to arrange game nights. So it was really good to prioritize time to see them. One thing that worked out well, I think, was that we set up dinner dates. We had packed all of our kitchen stuff.
It was all gone.
We had to eat out for a lot of meals anyway. And so this way we were kind of able to get 2 things done at once. So we were able to see our friends, but also it was we were going to have to eat dinner anyway, because I think in those last days it can feel really challenging to take a break from everything you have to do, but you have to eat no matter what. So that made it easier to be okay, we're going to stop and we're going to go see our friends.
Yeah, and that brings us to the second thing that we did, which is that one task that took up most of our time, honestly, in the final few days, and that was
packing all of our final things. Most of the time when I've moved in my life, it's I rent a U-Haul or I have a big van. And even when we've moved across country in the U-Haul, it's oh, we forgot X, Y, and Z.
Just
okay,
put it in a spot. Just cram
put it in
a
spot, or we'll cram it into the front cab with us, and we'll figure it out later.
Fill your boxes as full as you can get, as heavy as you want. It doesn't matter.
It'll cost more for gas, but whatever, right? But with the international move, you can't stuff extra things in the front cab of the U-Haul. Everything has to fit somewhere. There's a weight limit if you
don't want to pay more money.
Exactly. So with our checked bags, I think it was an extra $100 or $200 if we were over the weight limit, and then with the pallet it was $3 per pound. So we were really dedicated to keeping everything underweight.
You'll learn about us over time that we are very frugal.
This was an expensive move. You'll learn that.
It was an expensive move. We'll do a whole breakdown of the money stuff in another time. But we really tried to do things as inexpensively as possible.
Yeah.
We'll talk about our wedding one day because we did that for pretty cheap.
So we live in a 28th floor, or we lived in a more than 28 floors, but we lived on the 28th floor in a high rise in New York City, which meant we had to build up our pallet in our apartment and then build it up again outside, as opposed to, I think, some other people who have houses might build it in their garage and then just have somebody, pull up and it's in the edge of their garage. So this posed some different challenges, and we were weighing on a scale in our house, so we were tracking
a bathroom scale. So we were standing on it without a box, grabbing a box, standing on it with the box, doing math.
Actually, I had an Excel spreadsheet that did the math based on the weight. Anyway, so we were doing this. We're trying to keep our pallet under 810 pounds, which is a challenge. I think we talked about that in a previous video.
And I'm sure we'll talk about it in future videos as well.
And then our luggage, we were checking 4 bags. We are Sky Miles members with Delta and have the gold card. So first bag is free, and the second bag was $100 each. So we got 2 free bags, $200 bags. The third bag would have been $285. So we had 50 pounds with each bag, so 200 pounds total in our checked luggage and 810 pounds on the pallet. So in the last days, we spent a lot of time going through our boxes over and over and over and over again, and we'll do a video of what I would have done differently to keep ourselves
some lessons learned for sure.
Yeah, so that piece, I mean, like he said, that was one of the most time consuming ones that took us a long time. And we did an exercise a couple days before we left of like everything in the apartment that isn't being given away needs to
Go on the pallet or go in
a luggage,
luggage.
and then we need to weigh the luggages and make sure that they're under 50 pounds, and we weigh anything that goes on the pallet and make sure that that's not over.
Now, here's the thing. No matter how much prep you do, no matter how many times you build the pallet, no matter how much you've got it all figured out and do diagrams and pictures, the reality is the day of when we got down there and built the pallet, we had leftover items. We had items, one that I forgot up in the apartment, which was a tool bag, very heavy item. So we had to figure out how to make that fit into our checked luggage.
Which was already at weight.
Which is already at weight. So that was another, redistribution. And then the other thing, we like a Christmas tree, which probably wouldn't have worked here anyway, and a squatty potty.
They just didn't fit by the time we got everything outside and rebuilt it. And we'll do a full video on the whole pallet and how we did that.
It's quite the adventure.
Yeah, the bottom line is some things didn't fit, some things had to go. And this leads into the third thing, which is that, and we've talked a lot about all of his great work on Marketplace and Carrot, but we had to get rid of any items that couldn't come with us, and we've been very dedicated to putting as little as possible into the landfill.
Yeah, we really wanted to rehome things, and I was kind of surprised by the amount of things that I still had in the apartment on the final last 48 hours.
Well, and even though we did that exercise with the luggages and the pallet, there were still things just on the last day where I was like, oh, how did we, like, you just like walk right by it and it doesn't register that has to go somewhere.
Our toothbrushes, just that, little objects that you're like, that we need, but that
your like daily medication, stuff like that.
And they all weigh something. That's the important thing for anybody who's planning to move internationally. And if you're doing something based on weight, just keep this in mind. I want this to be your motto. Every object that has mass has a weight. We kind of forgot this for a bit of time and would just be like, oh, this doesn't weigh anything, but it does.
But final tally, our pallet was 800 pounds. We were 10 pounds under, probably mostly because of the tools that we forgot. And our luggages each came in between 49 and 50 pounds exactly when they got weighed at the airport.
Yeah, everything was right where it should be. So that final getting rid of things was relatively easy, but I had built up relationships with people throughout the time I've been getting rid of things on Marketplace. And this is a good recommendation for anybody who is going to be getting rid of things. Exchange phone numbers with the people who are more likely to take several items, because those people will come back and grab other things.
Yeah, we had one person who had like just lost everything in a breakup and on. And so he was like replenishing everything. So we were able to call him and he came back and took a lot of things. And there was a woman who
she helps different people in different communities by redistributing free things. That she has an SUV, so she can pick up free things and redistribute them to people who need them, which is incredible. And so she took a lot of like our food items and our kitchen items so that she could give these out to other people in the community. So build those connections. That really saved us in the last 48 hours and is really the reason that we didn't put things in landfills.
And then number 4 thing that we had to do before we left is we needed to finalize details for leaving the United States. So this was a variety of things. A lot of them had to do with the cats, although we did have to return our internet equipment. So just remember, there are little things that have to happen, like on your last day or two.
Double checking all of your subscriptions and making sure that you have your electricity being cut off and your renter's insurance and all these things that need to be canceled. Another thing that we learned when we got here was that a lot of your streaming services aren't going to work. So we actually ended up paying for like Netflix for an entire half a month more than we need to, because
we should have cut it off before we left, and we managed to cut off the gym before we left. So we got some of our subscriptions cut off before, because a lot of them you can't cut off mid-month. So you pay for a full month. So you either end it a little bit before you leave the States, or you end it after, and you're paying while you're in your new country. But the other things that we had to do besides that was just make sure we had paperwork in order. The cats needed paperwork. And actually, if you are traveling with pets, you should look really far in advance, at least a month or two ahead of time, and contact your vet. A lot of vets will have a travel specialist on staff that knows the requirements for the different country and can walk you through exactly what needs to happen. And we had that at the vet that we reached out to, which was really great.
Yeah, don't leave this to chance. I would also just not necessarily listen to just people on the internet who are like, this is what it was like for me. While that's good, call the vet. The vet's going to know exactly what you need. If there's a quarantine period, what shots are required. Your animal will most likely need chips, those kinds of things. So again, it's really recommended just get the appointment set and know that there's like windows of time that things need to happen. So one of the final things we did about 9 days before we left was grab the paperwork.
Yeah, so at least for here, the cats need paperwork that is certified by a USDA specialist within 10 days of travel for a checkup. So you have the checkup earlier than that, but then the paperwork goes to the specialist and gets certified within 10 days, and then they still have to mail it to you. And we had them mail it to our vet, and then we walked and picked that up from the vet. And then there are other things you have to set up in advance. And this leads into our fifth thing, which is what we needed to set up for our arrival in Amsterdam, which was a number of things. But we had an apartment here, so we needed to connect with the landlord. And, we were like, can you basically meet us at the apartment when we get there from the airport? We don't know exactly what time it'll be, but and our landlord was great. He was here fixing up the last few things, and our flight was delayed, and that didn't seem to be an issue for him. We also arranged a ride from the airport because we were traveling with so much luggage and with our cats. We didn't want to just like get an Uber or figure out if they have Ubers here, which they actually use something called Bolt here. Or like hail a cab. We didn't want to deal with that. We wanted somebody at the airport ready to take us, so we arranged a ride with somebody. Other things we did was setting up our cell phone service in the Netherlands.
And just real quick, when he says this is all things that Caleb did. I am not necessarily the logistics person, so royal we, because we're a team, but just credit for Caleb, because everything that he's talking about now, I just took for granted. I didn't even know it was happening.
So I set up our cell phone plans, and I'll do a whole video on how I did this. I was able to activate them from the US. So when we landed in Amsterdam, we just turned our phones on and we had our new phone numbers. We had cell phone service. I was able to text our landlord. I was able to text the person who was giving us a ride super easily. We didn't have to worry about getting on the Wi-Fi at the airport, which can sometimes be stressful. We did an eSIM in France when we visited recently, and it was a challenge getting on the Wi-Fi and getting it connected. So we got all that set up in advance. Yeah, those were some of the main things for us. I also set up our immigration appointment for our biometrics the day that we landed. We could have done it later, but I really just want to get our residence cards as soon as possible. Our attorney set up an appointment with us. You have to register with municipality here. So we'll do another video that breaks these down more clearly of like what all these things are, but this video is really like just what were our priorities before leaving, and it was these 5 things that we just talked about. And I think for a lot of these things we'll do another video that goes more in depth.
Yeah, we'll break things down more. If you want to see any specific topic or video covered, let us know in the what is it called, comments below.
Yeah, right in the comments. And please, if you like this video, like the video and subscribe to our channel. It really helps out. We're really trying to build this up, and we want to make a lot more content that is entertaining, but that also helps people to know what they need to do, but also just kind of like put your mind at ease, I guess, a little bit. And so our next video will be talking about the top things that we needed to do once we arrived here in Amsterdam.
And there was a lot to do, so we'll cover.
There's still a lot to do, but stay tuned. We'll be back soon.
Bye.